Hi everyone, and welcome back to Stamp with Anna. And today I'm going to show you the third card that we made in a recent card class, which focused on clean and simple cards. And as I mentioned in my other videos, the clean and simple cards were at 3 different levels. The first card we made was borderline clean and simple. It was this precious little baby card, and it has more on it than a typical clean and simple card would have. You have the 2 contrasting colors, and when it's all put together, what's on the front of the card takes up more than 50% of the card base, so it's really just borderline. But I like it, and this is what I'm comfortable with because I'm really not a clean and simple person. Then the second card we made was this one here, and this is also along the lines of clean and simple. It has some nice bright colors to go to offset the white, and again, very, very simple. And this is the one we're going to make today. And this is, if there is such a thing as a true clean and simple, it's all white, white on white with just a little bit of gray for the sentiment here. And this is it's actually quite simple to make. So I'm going to get started with this, and let's see, our paper that we need is thick basic white, 5.5 by 8.5 square to 4 1/4, and then another piece of basic white that is 4 by 5.5. Excuse me, 4 by 5 1/4. So we're going to do some die cutting. So to make this panel right here, I used my favorite die set, which is the stitched rectangles, and I used this second to the largest, and I die cut that there. Then I needed to make this little peekaboo hole right there, and I used my layering circles for that, and here are all of those. And I used this one right here. I think it's like the 3rd smallest. Okay. So I'm going to put all of these aside, and I'm going to bring up my Big Shot machine. And what I did here, let me make sure I'm in focus here. I have my magnetic plate, I have an acrylic plate, and then I have my paper. I'm going to center up my rectangle, and then I'm going to bring my circle in. It's probably up like let's say about 1 inch from the bottom. I'm sorry, I didn't use the second up. I used the largest. Thought it looked small. I used the largest rectangle. So I have the large rectangle on my paper, and then I have my circle, and I'm going to bring it up about 1 inch and in about 1/2 inch. Okay, and it just fits that 4 by 5 1/4. I could have used a larger size, but I keep a stack of 4 by 5 1/4 pieces of white because I use them so often, and I just grabbed one of those. So I'm going to just run that through. And because I use this a lot and I want my stitched background to come out nice and easily, I'm going to run that through twice. I'm going to save this little piece here. And I now have my front card. Let me just move this out of the way and you can see that. There's my front card. I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to make a little change on my, and I'm going to use my Big Shot platform. Now I'm going to emboss that round little circle, and I'm going to use the Tasteful Textile embossing folder. And my poor folder had a little accident, and it split. I have another one coming, thank goodness, but it did split. It had a little accident. So I'm going to put my round circle in there, and it's a 3D embossing folder. So I'm going to use my blue plate. I don't have the new cut and emboss machine, so I am still using the blue plate here. And I have to play with it sometimes to make sure that I get the impression that I want. And that's not quite as deep as I want. So I'm going to bring in a shim. I'm going to just grab a piece of paper and run that through. And that's just going to give it just that tiny little bit more. Like I said, my embossing folder had an accident. So here is my beautifully embossed circle. And now we're going to put the card together. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in our our base here. We're going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals. And with my pierce tool, I'm going to turn this over. With my pierce tool, I'm going to put them in the corners. Make sure I'm in focus here. Yep. Okay, and I'm going to put 2 on either side because I don't want this to cave in. I want it to stand nice. Now on my circle, right here, I want to put a couple mini ones because I want that to stand up as well. So I'm going to put 1 on all 4 sides of my circle. It's a lot of dimensionals on this, I understand, but it does really give it a nice lift. And now I'm just going to peel these all off. Again, using my pierce tool because that does help a lot. Okay, so now all my backings are off. And I'm going to center this on my card front. Okay, and there it is. And now you'll see it's all raised up. Now I want to take my embossed piece here and I'm going to drop that in there because you see it fits perfectly. So I'm going to use some Stampin' Seal for that. And I'm just going to drop it right inside that circle and it fits perfectly. And you see you have a nice raised front. Now the next thing we're going to do is embellish this. And what I did was I used the die set pierced blooms, and it comes at it's a great die set. All of these blooms, different types of flowers, and they're in leaves, and they're all stitched. So they're really, really cool. And I thought it was in keeping with the stitching all around my card. So these are the pieces that I cut out. I used this die, the leaf die, and this one here makes 2 insides. I only need 1 though. And these are my pieces. So what I'm going to do, first I'm going to attach my leaf. Now as you can see here, the leaf, the stem of the leaf is on my card front and the 2 leaves are on my the inside here. So I want them to be raised. So they need 2 Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm going to put 1 on each leaf. Okay. And I'm going to take my glue pen and I'm going to very lightly put a little bit of adhesive right here. Okay, and that's where I'm going to put my stem. Okay, so now the stem is attached and my leaves are attached, but my leaves are raised, okay? Then I'm going to take a matte dot. I'm going to use a white one, and that already has adhesive on it, which is really cool. And oops, I'm just going to put that right there, just as a little added something. I'm going to attach my flower, and again, my flower, some of it is going to be on this, so it's going to be flush, and some of it has to be raised. So I'm going to take 2 of these leaves, and I'm going to add a Stampin' Dimensional on either one. There's 1, and there's 2. And I'm going to take these off. Now these 4 remaining leaves are going to be on my card, so I'm going to come in with my adhesive, my glue pen. Oh, I'm hoping that's not going to make a mess. And when I lay this down, I want to make sure that these 2 that have the dimensionals are inside the circle. Okay, so you see that? These are flush with the outside, and these are raised. So it doesn't have enough adhesive on it. Okay, there, and there we go. Don't know why this one won't attach. There we go. The last thing I need to do is just add the center of my flower, and there's that. Now my sentiment, I stamped that I got that stamp from the Quiet Meadow stamp set, and I'm using this one right here. And I'm going to stamp it on this little tag, which I also die cut using the stitch rectangles. And there's the die that I used, and that is my die cut. So, and I inked that up in Smoky Slate. I'm going to just center that right in the middle of my tag. Straight down, straight up. And now that is ready to go onto my card. And I'm going to just put some adhesive, but not quite to the end, because this is going to get tucked. This is going to get tucked right here under that leaf if you want. And there we go. And there we have our very clean and simple card. If you have any questions at all about this project or any of the products I used, certainly contact me through my blog at www.stampwithanna.net. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you'd give it a thumbs up. If you do not have a demonstrator with whom you work, I'd love it if you'd contact me, and I'll be glad to send you out a catalog. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you back here later.